Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Crysis 3 Super Soldier difficulty video walkthrough. This is part 2 to the root of all evils. We're doing a little bit of casual swimming here as the enemies are going crazy, not understanding what's happening to their dam. This is an impressive level, I think. It's an impressive level in concept and it looks kind of impressive, but it's very underwhelming to play. And I don't mean underwhelming in a bad way, because I still enjoy this level. I just think, you know what you've just seen in the previous video where I didn't kill anybody, went into the two places, turned the generators off and then did this, and then it's done. Like when I saw this at E3, or whenever I saw it, because it did this fancy jumping, detonating moment, I thought breaking that dam was going to be, you know, really difficult and epic and procedural, but it was really just like killing Bowser. You know, you did 3 things and it died, which is games all over, I guess, and it's not a bad thing. It's just I was very surprised, and I kind of think that's the story of this campaign. Like, you get to these areas that you look at and you think, whoa, this looks crazy, you know, really complicated, really complex, and then you do it and you think, wow, that wasn't too bad at all. That is the sentiment of Crysis 3. You know, good game, just expected it to be something more. So, now that this is all flooded, this area is going to look slightly different. We're going to be making our way downstream because we need to get, as you can see, we need to infiltrate the cell harvesting facility. There's a very noisy hood lady. Go on, Prophet. You tell her you're a human being. You have numbers. There you go, you're a serial number. Look at her. It's getting me some sass, getting the super soldier with the giant killing bow sass, bitch. I should have really turned the talking off, because it's quite difficult to talk and cognitize while someone else is doing it. But there's an interesting achievement on this section coming up where there's a little rubber dinghy, and if you touch it, it starts floating, and if you sit in it for a certain amount of time, you get an achievement for doing some white river rafting, something daft, which I thought was quite funny. It's quite interesting. Not a lot of games these days have got interesting achievements. It makes no sense. It's this perfect opportunity to get people to play your game differently, and what do they do? Play one multiplayer map on this map, play one on this map, do this, shoot the bad guy, beat the game. Thank you. Very creative of you. And the funny part is, I think that's a job. The person who does the achievements, I think that's their job. So, I don't know. I don't get that. Like, if it was my job to test the achievements, you know, to make sure that they popped up, to design the pictures for them, to create them, essentially, I like to think I would have got to the point where I wanted a certain amount of them to be very standard and, you know, ubiquitous, but then some of them to be unique to the game I was working on. Like, for instance, this. If I was in charge of this game, you'll notice I'm going to try and put on some abilities now. So that is the extended cloak. To do this, you need to remain near an enemy for 100 seconds. You could have done that by now, so I would definitely recommend that you put that one on. I'm showing you the ones I'm going to use. You notice how they are the only ones unlocked because the only ones I did use. These are the ones I want. So the first one, I've just put on there. So if you look at the bottom left, I've now got one on the left and I've got one on the right. The one on the right is one I haven't mastered yet, so it's one I could put on anyway by spending points. And you find upgrade points in the level using your hood visor. It's going to look like the Crysis shades, kind of like a badly drawn Batman sign, and that is an upgrade point. And if you pick up enough of those, you can get more upgrades, and you can, you know, use the ones that you like. So at this point, I would recommend that you have the extended cloak one, that you're working towards standing near enemies for 100 seconds. And I would recommend that you have the ones that I've just put on there. And you should get them in no time, and they're really going to help you when they trigger. But, as I was saying anyhow, folks, if I was in charge of the achievements for this game, I think what I would have done is I would have had an achievement for beating the entire game on Super Soldier, doing all the side missions, using only the bow. I think that's what I would have done. Or if they'd have gone, sorry, Chris, that's too hard. That's too much. That we need it to be an incentive for people to play, but we don't want to, get a reputation for being masochists or for, for putting people off the game because of the achievements. Because believe it or not, that does work. It's fucking weird. It would be beat the entire game with the bow, because then you can put it on the easiest difficulty if you want to, take away the challenge, or you can put it on the hardest one if you want the challenge. But they've given you a bow. Here's an achievement that specialises in using it. There's, beat the entire game without using the powers. That could be a good one. And it's very Crysis-y, because Crysis is all about the powers. Take away the powers and you have this extremely different experience. And if the power one is too much of a jump in difficulty, or is too much for some people, or, those fucking, what are they called, those quality teams, those testing teams that they do, those screenings to people. There's a name for them, and I'm failing on it right now. But essentially, quality approved teams. People watch films in screening rooms. People play games in screening rooms. Every creative media that you see that is visual, digital, is screened before a test audience to see what the response is, to see what the consensus is, and then modified because of Billy Joe doesn't like male men in his films because he's extremely, homophobic. It's ridiculous, really. It's the death of creativity, and it's the reason why a lot of the bigger films are not as good as they should be, because the director is extremely limited in his vision, unless he's very stubborn. And the only way for the director to be that stubborn is he has to be a boss. He has to be an absolute baller with a guaranteed track record where the people funding him have absolute trust that if he does this the way he does things, he's going to get them the money that he's promised them. And unfortunately, not everybody can do that. I'm a director, for Christ's sake. I couldn't do that. I couldn't get somebody to fund me to do a fart. Which is a lie, because I could, quite easily, but not a big blockbuster movie type money thing. I've been thinking about getting a sponsor to make a film. Only a local one, and not a ridiculous amount of money, because I've got access to a ton of crew members who I know can do the jobs. I've got an idea for something I'd like to do, and there are a lot of local businesses, there are a lot of partnerships on YouTube and things on the internet where you could go to them with a pitch, give them an idea, and get funding quite easily because they're making a lot of money and it wouldn't take a lot. I've even got equipment, a bunch of different cameras and access to things to make it. It's just, I spent 3 years making films at university, and the production cycle is grueling, and it needs 100% commitment, and a lot of the times on those projects I did not get 100% commitment, and this wouldn't even be working towards an educational, a piece of academia. This wouldn't even be working towards a qualification. This would be working towards nothing, essentially, unless it gets really well known and prolific and actually works and actually turns into something good. But things get screened, things get changed, and there's not a lot you can do to control it, which is very sad, and probably sad for the directors. And that's what probably happens for achievements. And I don't know. I don't think it helps. This sequence here, as you can see, as soon as you touch this button, you're fine. Just use that cloak. Make sure to get behind things when you're getting it to recharge. And that area was very, very simple. Very, very quick. And then we can come down here and turn off some power. But anybody curious as to what film I wanted to make, it would not be a theatrical film. It would have been a documentary, which I got. And I don't know, for a couple of months I just had this idea rattling around my brain. Is what I wanted to do, and what I still want to do, and perhaps will do at some point, is I want to make a documentary on gaming on YouTube. And I want to do it properly as well. Or properly, as it should be pronounced. I want to do it right. And I'm talking, I would like to visit big YouTubers in the gaming zones in person, interview them, get some footage from them that can be put into there, and I want to cover it in stages, because the first thing that I would cover would be the preconceptions of what that is, and that would literally be me going to capital cities in this country, You know, going to places like Leeds, Manchester, London, and doing interviews on the street, like a survey to people, like those people that stand trying to get you to buy insurance and all that bullshit. But the difference being is, there would be me and my crew stood there interviewing random members of the general public, asking them, what is gaming on YouTube to you? Do you know what gaming on YouTube is? Just to hear what their thoughts were, because the amount of people that don't even understand what YouTube is astounding. The amount of people that don't know what gaming on YouTube represents is going to be even bigger. And just get a bunch of different footage for that. Then go on to say what the more objective perspective would, perceive gaming on YouTube to be. Also, you've got to separate it from gaming itself, because it's not a gaming per se, focus. It's about what it is on YouTube, because gaming on YouTube isn't gaming, guys. Gaming on YouTube is really different. And I would be looking at the systems of it, the business of it, and exploring everything from the person that does, what they love, gets 7 views a year, and still has 1,000 videos uploaded because they just love doing it, and it's a hobby, and they get a lot of fulfillment from doing it. And then on the other side of that, I would look at the people who do every single underhanded, corporate-minded technique to get views, likes, all that kind of stuff, like every single thing, all the way into YouTube dramas, all the way into just, the deepest and darkest points, and expose it all, not expose in a bad way, just in this is this genre that is blowing up, that is making a lot of money, that is only going to improve when YouTube essentially takes over television, and digital media evolves, and just kind of give just this vision of what it is. And I'd probably have a human element in there, saying what it means to someone, or what it means to a single person. I might even hire an actor to be the guy who does the interviews, something along those lines, so that we could get a personal journey of his, someone who started YouTube and has seen both sides of it, and see his journey through it, to what he thought it was, what it turned out to be, and what he feels about these different situations. Because it's always good to have a hero to follow, even in a documentary, because it can definitely help. But the entire thing would be written by me, and I don't know, I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think it'd be a great project for some disenfranchised students post-graduation who are expecting to walk into jobs who haven't. And I don't know, I think it'd be really, really good to watch, because there's not enough documentaries on more obscure things, and I love documentaries, I love watching them, and the concept of making one is great. The concept of making a mockumentary to me is even better, because I think that's going to be amazing, and it's something I want to do, but that's completely different. But that is the end of the Root of All Evils. As you could see just there, that mission was not too bad towards the end. You can stealth past all of it. The paths that I've showed will work pretty much every single time, so I didn't need to talk too much strategy. And thank you for watching. You take care now.